Welcome to the Vida Stories Podcast. Your family faith story is worth creating and passing down to the next generation. Tune in to the Vida Stories Podcast as we cover topics on developing a generational faith, creating adventurous memories, and a legacy worth fighting for. I'm your host, Elizabeth Escobar. Now, let's dive in. On today's episode, we have Bianca Cerrato, who is the principal author and founder of Libritos with a Heart. Bianca is also a wife, a mama, and she's also an MBA graduate and a great reflection of what it means to be a marketplace minister. So excited to have Bianca with us. Bianca, welcome to the Vida Stories Podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Amazing. So you and we connected out of all places. I mean, now it feels like it's pretty typical for a lot of people, but on social media, right?
Yes.
But I would love if you could share with those listening and those watching a little bit about your story with the connection with how did Libritos with a Heart come about? What is it about? I know that there's some that may be familiar with it, some may not be, but talk to us a little bit about that journey.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So, Libritos for the Heart are the cute little bilingual first word books. I can share one really quickly.
Yay!
Really, just to introduce our children to the greatest book of all, the Bible, in a cute, fun way, and then learning, English and Spanish. And so this was a project that God put on my heart when I was pregnant with my first baby. I want to share that I was pregnant. My mom had invited me to a women's conference. And the funny thing is, I almost said no. I actually did say no. I said, no, thank you, Mom. I'm pregnant. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. I'm in my first trimester. Plus, the services are in Spanish. Like, I'm not going to understand anything. But those were excuses. One, because I had the best pregnancy. I didn't have any morning sickness.
Wow.
So it was all good. Yes. And of course I speak Spanish and I understand it. So that was the devil trying to block this thing from starting. So she asked me again, like maybe a week or so before the event, and I said yes. And I'm so glad that I did, because that really reminded me on how important, family and faith really is, and also the Spanish language.
Mm.
Immediately after that conference, I mean, I loved it. The worship music in Spanish like brought me back to those days when, I would go to the Spanish Apostolic Church. So I went into that bookstore looking for bilingual books, and for some reason,
Mm.
well, not for some reason, I know it was God. I knew exactly what I was looking for. Like, I had seen other little books like early introduction, and I said, I want
Yeah,
that, but based on, stories of the Bible and bilingual. So I go
right.
in and I look, and I didn't find any. There was Bibles for boys or girls, or books like all in Spanish or all in English. So I just thought, well, this is a small bookstore, they'll probably have it on like Amazon, or I'll Google it, Etsy. But I did the search and I didn't find any. And I remember driving
Mm.
home and telling my husband, like, you know what? I think I have an idea. I think, I want these books. I know exactly what I want. I'm looking for them and I can't find them. And he said,
Mm.
yeah, you should try to do that. And so I won't go into like all the story, because this was an idea, but it was tough. It wasn't just like, yeah, it happened. This idea came in 2016, and I didn't publish this first book until 2018. But I will say that God put all the people in my path to get them done.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
And
a
now
little
you
quick
are
story.
at what number book
I
is
am
it?
at book number 7.
Yes. Okay, guys.
Book number 7.
Yes, this woman, unstoppable. Yeah, don't tell a mama no. Pretty
Right?
mean.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
almost like a
Well,
dare, right? Like
it
you tell a
is. It
mom
is.
no and it's like, watch me. I
Right?
make it.
I know. And the funny thing, it was myself, like, that's a great idea, but no, you're not going to do that. And then, like, I would talk to
Mm.
someone about it, and then things would just happen. And so I just have to say it's God. And if it's God's will, it will be done. So, yes.
Yeah, talk to us maybe a little bit more about that. Like what, because you're sharing almost like anyone that you would be sharing this kind of this idea with, that they were like either on board, like you said, you had the support of your husband, right? You end up connecting. I know you've mentioned you connected with this the illustrator, right? Like just
Mm.
these different pieces that God was opening up the doors for, but internally you were saying no. Like,
I
talk to us a
was.
little bit about just kind of that tug of war that
Oh
was.
my goodness, it is, and you're probably gonna make me cry because I don't really. I think I share, and I always just share, like you mentioned, like I just share doing it. But you're right, I don't like take a step back to think about like what I did and how I did it, and I remember I was pregnant, so I remember
Mm,
thinking like this is something I can do when I'm on maternity leave, like not while I'm still working. But it would just happen when I was working. Like the first thing was like I got home and I created a PowerPoint presentation. I'm like, okay, all these book ideas, like these titles, right? And they're all here, like Sea Animals with Jonah or like Counting with Queen Esther, like little stories that I remember when I was younger.
yeah.
But then like that all seemed fun, but then I thought like how am I going to do it? Like I have no idea how to do it. Like how is this, like it seems like a great idea, but I couldn't see the end of it. But like how it started with social media, so it's a big key player. I think it was like a weekend that I was just scrolling one Saturday morning on my stories or my Instagram feed, and I saw one of my friend's sisters. She posted something and I happened to click on her profile, and it said like she worked at a publishing company in New York. So I thought, oh my gosh, how perfect. Like, let me send her a message, and I did, and she agreed to meet with me. And even then she's just like, well, you have to do a manuscript and like get some illustrations, and she gave me like all this list of what to do, but to me it still seemed impossible. Well, not impossible, but I just thought that's probably not the route for me. Like mine are, simple words, like what am I going to do, like page one, elephant,
Yeah.
elefante, like that seemed like a little too easy. So then I thought, well, I'm going to have to find an illustrator because that's going to help like bring my vision to life, right? And then get a publisher to want this book. So again, after that happened, after I wrote down all my notes, it's like weeks, months went by till finally I remember one day, like I was just thinking, and I remembered like when I was in college, we would have people make flyers for us. So I thought, well, let me email like my sorority listserv and maybe they have connections. And sure enough, like I just sent an email, like four people responded. And even that, I sat on it for a while, like, oh, I don't know, like what do I tell them? Like all these questions like that I wasn't prepared for, that nobody prepared me for, right?
Yeah.
Like what to ask, how to have a budget or something. Like I just went for it after a couple of weeks. I thought, okay, like, hey, I have an idea, like just a simple email, like, hey, I have an idea, like, can we talk about it? And and that's how that happened too. The illustrator story is a good one. And
Yeah.
that's how I connected with her via email and talked on the phone, and she liked my idea, and then that's kind of what got things moving also.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's such a great reminder where we can be like, just like the saying goes, right? Like we can be our own worst critic, right? Like sometimes we have it right in front of us, quite literally right in front of
Exactly.
us. It's like God is just like, what do you want?
Yes, it's here. Yeah. Like
What do you want?
go, Bianca, do it. Like
Yeah.
the illustrator you need is right there. Email her. Like do it. And then
Or
finally.
I would even say too, like, I know that in my case, like the reason you and I first connected was like, I was like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, we had very kind of like similar aha type moments in
Yeah.
like the author journey. But I think sometimes we're just like, I had this whole vision in my mind of how it had to be.
Mm,
Right. And you almost get like fixated on that. And you're just
yeah.
like, but this is what I wanted, God. Like, I wanted it to be like this. Like,
Yeah.
get this call or to this or that. And God's just like,
Yeah.
can we just move on? Like, just, you know, and I'm like, but, you
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah. I
get
had,
fixated on
yes, definitely.
certain versions.
Definitely, definitely. I was exactly there after the okay, I got the illustrator, we got the books, the pages ready, and finally a friend told me that her cousin was a boutique publisher, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, perfect. He's going to publish it." And I had a meeting with him too. She connected us. I said, "Please publish my book." And he was like, nope, you already have the illustrations, but you pretty much have your book. You need to go the self-publishing route. And I was like, no, just publish it. He's like, no, and then you're donating 10%. Like you need to go and I was like, no, but God, I want to go through a publishing company and I
Yeah.
want him to do it and then have it off my hands. And it was like, nope. He said no, and I had to go the self-publishing route and do more research. And yeah, like you said, I thought, great, I'm done right here. And God said, no, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, he's got his own ways of doing things, and
Of
it's like,
course, of
get with the
course.
program. I mean, maybe talk to us a little bit about what the response has been, because it's one thing to like, this is my idea, this is what I want to do, right? Like, I'm looking for this in bookshelves, in the
Yeah,
bookstores,
yeah.
right? But then for it to be on the other side, right? For other families to be receiving it and what their connection and their story is with this literally, like, you have provided a collection for families now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember when I first started and I was like with my first one, like at a little farmer's market and in 20 like 18, 19 maybe, and they're like, "Do you have more?" And I'm like, "No." And honestly, I felt like I said, "But I'm going to be working on it." And thank God, I've been publishing a book every year since 2018. So that's how we're at 20 and that's how we're in book number 7. But yeah, I mean, I know in my heart that there are many more mothers. I know I have to do my part in sharing the word, but I remember even getting, like you said, your own worst critic in the beginning when they weren't selling like I thought they would be.
Mm,
I thought this was the best book ever. But I remember reading this book, A Purpose Driven Life, and I
mm,
remember them talking about like even if you change like one life,
mm.
that's your purpose. Like that's what God, and I needed that in that season. Like, you know what? If I can change one life, one mom, like if I can get this book into one new person, I'm doing my job. Like I'm going to be so happy. And it has, and it's been more than just one. And I've been super, super happy. But just hearing about, moms wanting more or like, saying that their kids love their books, it's a great, great feeling. One other thing I remember thinking of is a friend that I was at one of these farmers markets, and one of my friends that I went to high school with, she comes by my booth, and I think I had like the whole collection, and it was so great because she had 2 little girls, and she tells me, and she's like, "Oh, you make books, like, oh, how cool." And saw them. It's like, "Well, I'm not religious, but he is, like, her husband is." She's like, "Okay, I'll buy a set." And I was like, "Oh, praise Jesus." Like that's exactly like, yes, I'm going for the moms who want to disciple their kids, but I'm also going for the moms that, may not, like, this is also not only changing their kids' life, but also moms, introducing them to different stories of the Bible. So that one was like a real big win that one year. And I remember saying, praise God, I got a friend, and these books with, scripture and about stories of the Bible are in her home that her daughters will be reading. So yeah.
Wow. No, and I mean, wow, what a great reminder. I think that it's like that at the end of the day, like that is the purposes and plans, like what you said, right? Like even, with that Warren book, right, where it is, this is, oh God, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Like this is how you are wanting for me to co-create and partner along with you
Yes.
to co-labor in expanding the gospel, right? Like it isn't just always the four walls of the church. And don't get me wrong, like we need that, right?
Yeah,
But it's
definitely.
like both and, right? It's like
Yes.
working hand in hand together. And I would love for you to share with us a little bit too about even the mission behind, like, because the way you have your books structured are slightly different, right? Because every purchase you have a specific percentage that goes to something. So share with us a little bit about that.
Yes, of course. So I'm always I'm talk about like efficiency, or I try to, like the saying, like kill two birds with one stone. So I'm like, yes, these books, like I'm doing them, and they have to, like, I'm gonna just get the maximum out of them, right? So it's early introduction to the Word of God, teaching bilingual, and then third, I'm also giving back to children's ministry. So for every book sold, I donate 10% to children's ministries. And so that's also just been a blessing, for me to just, give back. And so if I can give, this is another avenue where I'm also helping, to give back and along with my tithes. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's wow. I mean, it's super inspiring, just to see the impact that you have had, because even though sometimes it can feel like, well, we only did this much this time around, or oh, this other bit, right? But like you're saying, like you reflect back to like all the way to the beginning and it's like, oh wow, like
Hmm.
now we almost have like a full-on collection, right? And then to the
Yes.
point that it is touching these different pockets of people, whether it is, children's ministry, or I know that you have partnered with different missions, right? And like those types
Hmm.
of avenues, right? And I think my next question would be, because I can already kind of like almost like play devil's advocate a little bit, right? Where there's some that are just like, wow, well, she made a collection and they're writing books, right? But I've got to work, right? Or
Yes.
we do X, Y, and Z. We have the full family life going on. It is busy time, high season in our family. Like, that just seems really out of reach for me. I don't even know how that would be possible, right? And I even think too that some of it can be like, well, maybe let's help to challenge that way of thinking, where it's like, don't take this as like we're telling you to go write a book.
Yeah.
What has God positioned and placed inside of you? So tell us maybe a little bit about like your like kind of like what clicked for you and what has been ways that, you've been able to step in and be a part of just like being that kingdom light, in simple or practical ways.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this is my passion project. I am
Mm-mm.
a full-time mom. I have three kids. I work full time, and I'm a wife, and I love spending time with my family. My kids are busy in sports, so if I can do it, you can do it.
Mhm.
But I think it's more, you said it right. Like, I never would have imagined myself being an author. Like,
Mm,
this started, it was like me dragging my feet, figuring things out. If you would have asked me like years ago, I never would have said author. But that's, where God guided me, and I'm like happy and proud to share that. And it's like something that it came from something He knew I would be passionate about, and it's like my kids and bringing them up in faith. And so that made it easy for me to like do the work. Like, I had just graduated, well, 2 years before that, in 2014, from my MBA. So I, like going to school. I like studying things. I like researching things. So I was able to, like, I guess, use those skill sets to figure out how to, self-publish a book.
mm,
And so I'm grateful, but I know that I did it with God and through God's guidance, and it was just through Him that I was able to accomplish that. And the fact that I can continue every year, and now I feel, sometimes I say it's easier, but actually now that I think about it, it's a little bit harder because I have three kids. Like, obviously year two I only had like one, but because I had my whole, like, I had done it once again, like I was able to do it a little bit better the second time, and then a little bit different the third time, and then it just became like fun, like a fun project. And that's why I call it my passion project. So it doesn't seem like a lot. I just have to do it. And that's where it does get hard, because honestly, I don't even remember. I think it was book six, the Easter story, that was really like, I almost didn't do it, but God is so
mm,
good. I felt like I waited very long to like call the illustrator and get that set up, and I know it takes time because it needs to get printed, and I
mm.
wanted to meet my deadline of like one book every year. And so I just, I prioritized my time, and I got it done, and again, and prayed about it really too, because that was something that I thought, oh, I'm gonna miss my own internal like deadlines. But yeah, no, I was able to do it. Like, I didn't have to spend hours watching Netflix. Like, let me refocus that time to like getting my
Mhm.
book stuff ready, and it was late. And that's how I work, really, is once the kids are in bed, and they don't even go to bed early. So they go to bed late, and then I'm up even later. I'm a night owl, so I
Amen,
worked
sister.
at
I'm right
night.
there with
Yes.
you.
So I don't want people to think like, oh yeah, of course she has her kids on it. No, my kids do not go to sleep. They're not in bed by 8. They wait until I fall asleep. So sometimes, I have to
You got
pretend I'm
Teflon
asleep.
children, just like
Yes.
how I do, is what I'm hearing. Yes.
Yes, yes, exactly. But no, and I think it all boils down to like doing what is something that you like to do, right? Like something that's going to bring you joy at the end of the day. Like, this brings me joy, and seeing all like my ideas go through, and now even having my kids help me too. It's been a different type of journey, but getting it like just doing it. Like honestly, I don't know why a few years ago I'm like that Nike, like just do it. Like I feel is my mantra. Like you just have to do it. Pray about it and just do it. So yeah, it might not be books for you, but it might be like, hey, I bet you know how do you get that like, oh, I want to do this or like that itch, like just do that. Like go volunteer, like sit, talk to that person. Cause honestly, that's another thing. Like just talking to people. At first I was afraid to because I thought, oh, they're gonna think what a silly idea, or like think but everyone when I decided to talk to someone, they just brought like that was it was like God used them to like talk like help guide me to do the next to go on to the next step. So
Mhm.
it was like I don't even know how to explain it, but now that I think back and I remember like I wouldn't talk to everybody about it, and it was like finally I'm like, oh, my friend, like, oh yeah, she goes to church, like let me tell her about it, and then she's like,
Mhm.
oh, my cousin's a public. I'm like, oh my gosh, great, like I'm so glad I told you. I was
Yeah.
really like not gonna tell you, but I feel like that's how God talks to us, or even hearing other people's stories will give us ideas on like, hey, I've been thinking I want to do something like that, and then you just have to try it because sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, and it's not from one day to the next, right? Like I got this idea in 2016 and the first book didn't come out until 2018, and so here I am today, still tracking it.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, and I feel like the overall kind of like theme or message that I'm hearing from you is that it's not one or the other, but it's both and, right?
Hmm.
Like I think specifically as mothers, like, God has created women to just intrinsically have that,
Yes.
like just a supernatural ability, right? Like you got the baby on the hip and then you're over
Hmm.
here like, sending the email to the illustrator or like even
Exactly.
kind of you just MIA chick, como se dice, right?
Yes.
You make it happen,
You
right? You
make it
just
happen.
do it,
Exactly. Yes.
like
Just
you
do
said it.
it.
And you're so right, right? Where there are those, like, there may be somebody that it's like, maybe decor is like your
Yeah.
passion, right? Like, maybe it's like you, like, making, I don't know, like Easter look beautiful at your
Yeah.
church, right? Like, there's so many ways to go about, like, if like, I love what you mentioned about just it's like it is your passion, right? Like, you even as you're talking, like, you look like you're lit up, like, your eyes are, like, bright and, you're just, like, full of joy, right? So it's like, if it
Yes.
is if cooking and hosting, like, brings
Yes.
you joy, do
Hmm.
it unto the Lord,
Yeah.
sister. Like, bless those around you with that gift that the Lord has placed inside of you. Like, unleash it, right? Like,
Yeah.
we need that. We need women
Exactly.
and men and families. And what a beautiful picture, right? That you're doing this now alongside of your children, that they're just like, yeah, mommy, like, I don't know about you, but like, my kids, like sometimes I overhear their little conversations, right? And like, yeah, my mommy and yeah, she published a book and her book launch, it was in Miami, like just so like matter of fact, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
like, she just like, "Oh, yeah, that's me on the cover right there," like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,"
Like no big
like, and I'm
deal.
just like sometimes they're like, "Ay, estos niños," but
Yes.
I almost think too that I'm just like, "You know what? What a blessing that my prayer, and I'm sure this is yours as well, where it's like, Lord, that what was my ceiling, like, that was something my pastor had said, that be their floor."
Yes.
Right? That they
Exactly.
are able,
Amen.
like, to them, it's like, it's so normal. Our moms, they make books. Right? What's happened over here, right? And, like, maybe other families, maybe they create beautiful events or, I don't
Yeah.
know, they
Yeah.
I who knows? They build homes or something, right? Like, everyone has something that they can leave a mark and a legacy
Yes.
on, and I think that's, like, one of the most beautiful ways that a family that is living unto the Lord, that's, like, you could I feel like you've seen this too, right? Where there are some families where it's like, oh, they're the sporty family, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
family, like, they all like to sing or they're all into, hiking or something,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, what a beautiful thing that it's like you get identified by the gifting that God has positioned and placed over your family, right? So, like, what a beautiful thing, number one, that God has opened up that door, for your husband to just be like, "Go, honey, like, go for
Yes.
it, we're gonna do this together," right? And then that your kids are just like they're seeing like,
Yeah.
wow, mommy's just gonna do this. So like, I'm just gonna do it alongside with
Yeah.
her, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I'd love if you could just share maybe a little bit of encouragement if there's just somebody that's just like, you know what, like I don't have like all the XYZs, like that sounds nice and pretty and all, but like I don't have the this, I don't have the that, right? I may not have that encouragement or the supportive family member or whatever it is. Maybe that it's not their season and they're just like they have kind of that burning passion, but it's like for
Yeah.
whatever reason or another, it's just like, "Well, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I like in that waiting, right? Like that wait
Yes,
room."
yes. Yeah, no, I would encourage you to pray. I mean, I know maybe you have prayed, but pray, pray, and don't stop praying. I know God has, like, we have to remember God has a plan for all of us. And I know it could be hard and towering in the waiting. And, honestly, there was times that I thought even this project, like, wasn't gonna, even though I was at the end and I had, like, a piece of paper with the books with the book idea, like I didn't think it was gonna happen because I didn't know how to self-publish. But again, you still, like, even though when it seemed like it wasn't gonna happen, out of nowhere, like when you least expect it, like God makes a way. So don't give up hope, like keep praying, pray about it. And honestly, I say that I got the idea in 2016, but now, like, you reminded me, I think I got, like, I planted a seed in 2012. Okay, when I graduated from my MBA, my husband asked me, "What are you going to do with your MBA?" And I thought, "Oh, I don't, like, what do you mean nothing?" Like, it was a goal of mine and I checked the box, like, what do you
Yeah.
mean what am I going to do with it? And I even had already gotten a promotion at work, so it wasn't even like, it was just like a goal of mine and I achieved it. So I was like, "Yay," like so happy. But he, like, asked that question and it did plant a seed. And I remember going into the shower and, like, that's where you think, you have time to
Yeah.
think. And I thought, oh, he's right. Like, what should I do? Like, I was very involved at work, like just even volunteering, like going to different events. And the good thing about that, and I would encourage people to just, like, go if you're interested in stuff, like, go, because you listen to people talk and you realize that, like, they're just people like us too. And when they do
Mhm.
something great, like, you start getting that motivation yourself, like, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, oh wow, like I met Dolores Huerta, I met Mario, like I met even,
Mm.
like, movie stars, and like they were real people, like, and just people
Yeah.
just like us, and we sometimes we, like, put them up on a pedestal, or like,
Yeah.
think like, wow, they're great, but they're just people, who probably just followed their passion too. And so once I started hearing people share their stories, and I remember, like, okay, when he asked me that question, I thought, like, I just knew whatever I did, like, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew at that very moment that whatever I did, it was going to be for God's honor and glory.
Mm.
And so from 2012, like, I would just pray, like, oh, is it this? Or he had given me some ideas, like, oh, you like to shop and, like, resell. And I was like, how am I going to change that to God's honor? No, I'm like, that's not a good, and things like, just little things that we would throw out, like, oh, maybe I could do this or maybe I could do that. And we would think about it and try it. And I feel like when this book idea finally came, like in 2016, there was something that was like, yeah, I can do it. And I even got more excited because, like, it didn't exist. This was something, this was like my idea. And that's something that I guess I was praying for, that I didn't really realize, and then it happened. But again, it was prayer. It was like constantly, like, thinking about it, not giving up hope, like just knowing in your heart, like, you know what, God, I'm praying. I want to do something for your honor and glory. And if it's your will, I know it will be done. And then kind of answering, like, don't drag your feet like I did, answering to some of those, like, when he opens doors, just like answer to them, and start going at it. Like, it could be like anything. And just know that if you're passionate about it, and if it's his will, it will be done.
Yeah, I love that so, so much. Like, that's so beautiful in and of itself, right? Because I think the discovery journey is also a big part of it as
It
well. I think
is. It
sometimes
is.
like we maybe it's just like our flawed nature as human beings. Like we just want it like that.
Oh yeah. Like,
Why
please
don't
say
I don't know
yeah.
the it already? Like,
Yes.
I want pero ya.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Not like you do have to kind of go through that trial and error phase in a sense. And And there's like a level of frustration that's
Hmm.
acquired and the different rounds of it, but at the same time, at least I found as well that it's like when the moment of glory in a sense like finally comes around, it's like you truly do like relish it and like
Yes.
how do they say like lo disfrutas, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like finally like you see the fruit and you're like, ah, yay! And
Yay, I know.
it's not just something that just kind of gets thrown on the wayside, like no big deal, right? It's like no, like you genuinely labored for it,
Mhm.
right? Because you're co-creating alongside
Yeah,
of God for it.
yep,
And it's an honor,
it
to be
is.
able to do that. I think the other piece of what I've heard from you too is that sometimes there are others that it's like you haven't really seen it before, and I know that that can be a scary piece too, right? Because it's one thing when it's like, "Oh, I've seen so and so do it," or "I've seen this or that," right? But it's a whole nother thing where you're just like, "But I don't like, am I the
Yeah, but
crazy one?
me,
Like, yo
no,
soy la loca,
yes,
right? I'm making things up, right?" But
yes.
it's like, no, maybe God is calling you to blaze the trail. Maybe God is asking you to create the pathway so that others can follow alongside
Mm-hmm.
next to you, right? And so, like, when I found you, I was just like, oh my gosh,
Yes,
your sister. It's like, wait, oh my God, like, yes, right? Oh, I wasn't the only crazy one. Yes.
yes, yes.
And that I would say that too is almost like be encouraged that like you're not the only one that God is stirring your heart. Like
Yeah.
if you are sensing that, like God is stirring other people's hearts as well. Like even yesterday I was reading, I've been in the first and second Kings and where it's talking about how I think it was Elisha where he's just like, and I'm the only prophet. Like when he was like after his glory moment and everything. And God didn't correct him, but he almost just said like, "Yeah, but I have this many hundred
Yep.
prophets actually over here on this
Yeah.
side of the kingdom." And it's almost too like, wait a minute, like we're not
We're
the
not the
only
only
ones
ones.
over
Mhm.
here. Like, how did my uncle say? Like tú no eres la única cocaine girl. Like, don't think you're like all that in a bag of
Hot
chips. Like,
chips.
God has a whole big plan,
Yes.
right? So it's so many different pieces, but so thrilled that we were finally able to have you come in and share your powerful story.
Thank
Tell
you.
us
Thank you.
how our listeners and those watching can get connected with your amazing books and I mean really this collection. Where can they find it?
Yeah, of course. So I have an Instagram, Facebook, but on my website, libritosfortheheart.com, all my books are there. But I usually do like offers, giveaways on Instagram. So follow us or check out our website. All the books are there.
Yes. It's such a
Yes.
thrill to have you come on. So
Thank you.
excited to see, a woman on the move, when the Lord
Thank
tells
you.
her to
Thank
move,
you.
she's like, I got my marching orders. Let's go.
Yes, yes, I know. And also, I'm happy to share book number 8 is in the planning. So hopefully
My
we can get
goodness.
it
You
before the end of
guys.
the year. Yes,
Hot off the press right there.
yes, yes.
Wow, that's incredible. That's so, so inspiring, so incredible.
Thank
We will
you.
make
Thank
sure to
you.
link all of Bianca's ways to get connected with her books, and all she has coming up her sleeve. Because, guys, sounds like she's not stopping. On a roll. So,
No, no.
thanks everyone for listening, watching, and we will see you next time. Nos vemos.